It is morning here, so there's no news to speak of yet. But there will be. It's clear as crystal that the root of all evil is exactly that, and those in whom it is blooming are the enemy of humanity. The bankers are the problem. The bankers manufacture recessions and depressions to exert a greater control over social and political structures. The bankers create and finance the wars on both sides of the conflicts. The bankers orchestrate famine, poverty, and want. The bankers control the policies that control the media and the education system that is operated to maintain ignorance in the public so that they can be shorn like sheep. The bankers launder the drug money and keep drugs illegal. The bankers are the problem.
Greetings world, we are AnonDK. We bring you at long last the core point of our years of research, the climax of all of the messages we have given you, the answer to what are the elite, and subsequently what is their final goal. We wrote all the bloodlines which can be found on our websites below. After many thousands of hours of research of the elite, the genealogy is documented and detailed in a timeline including key events. This was the goal of the document, and of our messages, hopefully enabling you to understand and see the elite more clearly, to reveal to you the how, why, what, when, and where, of the elite, their DNA, their beliefs, their agendas. You do not have to believe it. The point is that the elite do, and this is what drives them in their goals. Open your mind enough so you can understand this truth. We will skip many of the details in the history of the elite as there simply is not enough time in a video. So we will take a quick look at the 300s ad when a small group of about 300 to 500 Seleks, which were a very secluded tribe of the elite at that time, came out of their normal territory known as the Rhineland, speaking a language no one knew with a government system that hadn't been used for over 1,000 years. The bloodline held on to their original beliefs and government. The Seleks had one plan, one immediate goal, to infect every ruler of every land with their blood. So they began creating the Merovingian dynasty. So the DNA spread. The elite regained control of every government in place over the next few generations. Once they had married into rulers, they kept it in the family. This is just one example of how the DNA has been spread through the world today. They are called blue bloods as the color of their blood is more blue tone because of the high copper content in the DNA. Very metallic. Their blood type is Rhd negative and not a pure human blood antigen or found naturally in any other species. Rh was named after the rhesus monkey, the type of monkey typically used in lab experiments and sent to space. In 1939 a woman's blood was being tested to find out what was creating so many stillbirths. The antigens in the blood specimen were tested and incorrectly labeled at the lab, which was also doing tests on the rhesus monkey. By the time it was discovered that the mother's antibodies were produced against a different antigen than the rhesus monkey it was named after, the rhesus blood group terminology was being widely used. When we look closer we see more. The mutation in the negative blood type creates a cannibalistic gene which literally eats the DNA of the offspring created with any other type of blood. This is why so many of the elite's offspring die. They must have the correct female blood that carries the Rh negative and the correct male gene who can survive the process. If they do not match up the pair just right, the spawn will die. Many of the elite's offspring end up with serious mental or health issues, not to mention most of them die, if not before birth, shortly after. One need only look at their genealogies. Once again, Almost everyone contains the Rh protein in their blood. Not everyone with Rh negative is elite or negatively aligned in Luciferianism. We only discuss the elite here and the factors genetic, social, and spiritual that play into their agendas.
Every living organism on this planet is constructed of three-dimensional digital coding, like zip files, pure data, zero junk code in every single strand. Tit for tat, line for line, which opens up click by click by click to become a living biological organism. All of it fitting together like a perfect glove. And deeper inside the genome, the framework of pure biological software and precision operating system. File folders containing actual body plans, digital instructions, coordinating every strand, every cell, every little bitty part, pulling the molecular fabric of every piece together to create a biological masterpiece, literally written, birthed into reality itself from scratch and seemingly plugged in to neurologically and consciously control every single system of the entire biological masterpiece. It's not just consciousness, the intangible controlling the tangible, which is a paradox. The living blueprint for what you call you is alive in every single drop of your blood. One could quite easily come to believe that there's something a lot larger in scope.
Blood group antigens are either sugars or proteins, and they are attached to various components in the red blood cell membrane. The antigens of the AB blood group are sugars. In contrast, the antigens of the Rh blood group are proteins. The main two blood groups are called AB with blood types A, B, AB, and O and Rh with Rhd, positive or Rhd negative blood types. All things with DNA have a detectable frequency, a personal emitter. The elite track people based on their emissions of frequencies. People with Rh positive blood have an antigen that produces antibodies, which ward off disease. Rh negative people don't have this particular antigen. The proteins in Rhd DNA are grouped together in 5s and 6s. This makes the cells much larger and more bulky, also making it difficult for them to move as normal cell structures do, further causing issues with this breed. 1% of the antigens in Rhd negative blood are not found in any other Earth species. They cannot receive blood from anyone who is not Rh negative. Women are the more common carriers of Rh negative. Rh negative cells cannot be cloned. Hemolytic disease is the allergic reaction that occurs when an Rh negative mother is carrying an Rh positive child. Her negative antigens produces antibodies to destroy the positive antigen, the same way that would a virus, thereby destroying the offspring. This same problem occurs in mules, which are a hybrid of a horse and donkey, which is why no mule or other hybrid produced can procreate. Nowhere in true nature does this occur. This fact alone points to the genetic tampering and altering of humans. Hemolytic disease would not occur in humans if we were all of the same species. Rh negative blood is rare. Only 15% of the population of the world has Rh negative blood, which is a lot, as the elite are only 8,000 or so total. Keep in mind it is them we discuss here. Cloning and genetic alteration has happened to humanity before, so naturally many still contain the mix. 85% of humans in fact have Rh positive factor in their blood, as we all contain DNA passed to us from our family genealogy. Nothing is so black and white in a world so filled with lies. Everything is complex. The RH blood has spread across the world. Blood has mixed and the genes have been diluted. This is why the pure breeding is so special to the bloodline of L, to try to save what they haven't perfected in hopes it will be as it once was. Once they complete their life's work, bringing their masters back to full power, the elite believe the fallen ones, the aliens, are their creators, when in reality, they are the destroyers of humanity. We trace this blood type back to a few women who were impregnated by non-human beings. After being kidnapped and taken to Atlantis, these women inhabited Atlantis while the beings engineered their genetically altered race. After Atlantis was destroyed, the offspring who survived still carried the gene, the DNA of two separate species. The survivors traveled to the areas we now call Peru, Turkey and the Himalayas. The tribes in Turkey, which was known as Mesopotamia at the time, were intermixing with the tribes in Canaan, creating the elite bloodline families we exposed to you. One of Canaan's main cities was Jerusalem. The gene was passed through the bloodlines. As the families grew and the tribes moved from location to location, they created civilizations aimed at bringing Atlantis days back. Sumeria, Babylon, Egypt, Rome. Mother is the carrier, and with that we can begin to understand the importance of the female deity to the elite. The mother goddess, Diana, Isis, Mary, the life giver. Most of the elite's societies thousands of years ago were ruled by the queen. The queen has typically had higher power secretly than the male, just like in chess. Females are superior in the elite mind as they carry the blood. The women are kept hidden and every marriage is predetermined. As the elite work with the public figure and the hidden figure, the public see one narrative, while the real agendas are carried out by the one standing behind the one who speaks. If you look into history, archaeology, and personal documents of people and historians of ancient times, you will find similar issues. Across the world, every civilization had an infestation problem. Giants and half-human, animal, beings, half-human hybrids, nymphs, and shapeshifters were commonplace. Humans traveled high and low to destroy the creatures of that time. So much is hidden from you. So you will not see what the elite truly are. So you will not know their history. So you cannot see truth. Instead they feed you with stories of little green men. They tell you in movies, propaganda, so you will not believe the truth. To keep you blind. Let your mind be open. Connect the dots and see the links. There is nothing new. It has all happened before.
Woman, she was a little bit, she had mental issues, and she was sort of walking around the cemetery, and then around the cemetery suddenly she found this very strange creature alive. Yeah? The creature was alive. So she took it home.
Okay, so, and the eye sockets on these, they seem larger. Look at that, they're significantly larger than the other one. And whenever you're looking at an alien image, or the bodies that these things may be speculatively trying to recreate, the eyes are large. This strange little guy here in the physician's hands was found over here in the Atacama Desert in Chile. And this little slimy character, zoomed in on right here, found in the same areas as the elongated skulls surrounding the blood sacrificial, literal megalithic towers to the serpent. He likes branding his name on stuff from here to Timbuktu, but also looks strikingly similar, if not nearly identical. This little dude here, being held in Ripley's hand from Ripley's Believe It or Not. And this little thing here, which Ripley called Ottaboy for the Atacama Desert, is found in the same area as this thing here. I gotta be straight with you, I'd be really uncomfortable if I saw this thing run across the hallway in a dark room, or Saw it in some kind of a science aquarium, beating on the glass.
I can say with absolute certainty that it is not a monkey, which basically leaves us with a very strange conundrum, right? Here you've got this 6-inch tall, let's call it human, right? Because the DNA says that so far it's human, at least the way that we're looking at it.
But they did a medical examination, and they found out that the bones were fully formed. It certainly wasn't a baby. It certainly wasn't a premature baby of any shape or form. So the anatomy was quite different, and they ascertained, or they supposed, or came to the conclusion that the bones were fully formed.
It lived to the age of 6 to 8. Obviously, it was breathing, it was eating, it was metabolizing, and it wasn't living in an environment where there was a lot of advanced medical attention that was given to it to allow it to live to that age.
And that was a grown thing, yeah, whatever it is. I mean, it wasn't an animal, it wasn't human, so that thing was grown, fully grown. That's a conclusion they came to.
This suture line here doesn't exist whatsoever.
Spelled at this point.
Well, here's the thing with the head mining is you would have parietal plates here, and you would have a seam going over this here, which they don't.
You know, I've shown these skulls to a number of doctors, foreign doctors and Peruvian doctors and nurses.
Where my finger is, there's some kind of like the hearing area would be, but it's totally unique. On the other side, if you turn it over here, it's exactly the same. It's as though that's where its hearing apparatus was, whatever it had, bone structures or whatever, but there's nothing there. It's not like us where we have ear canals. It's completely different.
Well, let's do them one at a time again. So this one here that you're holding, this is the human one that we've got up in front of us.
Other medical professionals, and none of them can explain why that suture line isn't there.
And on this particular skull, so I've got the 2 parietal plates, and this is a normal human head. It's got the 2 parietals, and you can see that seam is about as clear as day. If you were doing the boarding thing, could a suture line, in these people's opinion, or have you heard, can a suture line disappear?
No, it can't.
It is skull again, and there are no parietal plates.
Okay, now that's fascinating right there, because that is, I mean look at that. The entire top of the head right there. Yeah.
So you will always, even in an old person, you'll always see part of the suture there.
It's like technology in and of itself certainly isn't evil. It all depends on what one plans to reach out and unleash with it. Screwing up in there, you say, like the dual twisted serpents of the Kundalini. Now notice the common imagery here, where you've got one side, you got the human side, and then you've got the thing controlling the human side. There's also the symbolism that you're going to see in your rock stars, your movie stars, sometimes, not all of them. And note this for the record, Satan doesn't own the symbolism here any more than he actually owns the goat. Doesn't own anything. He's got a short temporary lease. He likes to use stuff that God's made. The dark side operating through the flesh. Of course, the serpent has wiggled his way up to the mind from which he is peering out into our world and created another network resource out of the person. Here's, of course, a common drawing of the chakras awakening all the way up to the top to become part of that universal consciousness that is trying to plug in there. And by the way, when you hear the folks that get on stage and they say something else takes over, what a surprise. Right down here, you see in the common imagery, you see the up from abyss, the abuso, the dark place, the place of chaos coming up through the earth. Notice the earth is over the sex organ. That's where it wants to be birthed forth into, wiggling its way all the way up the spine, where the eye is going to look out. Always the eye looking forth into the natural world. And of course, from its perspective, its point of view, the thing coming up from chaos, it has budded from the darkness into a flower on top. That's why the symbolism of the ancient Egyptians, of course, was a lotus flower coming forth from chaos, or after the flood, the Abuso, and birthing forth. Symbolism on all of this stuff is so rich.
Talking about here. Well, we have the days of Jared, watchers come down, they mate with women. Enoch tells you that the first generation Nephilim would only live for 500 years, and that they were to kill each other off in a massive civil war that their parents had to watch. How many of you have kids? How many of you would like to see your kids massacre each other? Anybody? No, of course not. That'd be very difficult to watch, right? Part of their severe judgment was for them to watch their beloved ones massacre each other. And the text refers to it as their beloved ones, so they loved their children. That was part of their judgment, was to watch their children kill each other off. Josephus likens the first generation Nephilim to the Titans of Greek mythology. So I believe that this 500-year civil war that Enoch writes about is what the Greeks later stylized and what became known as the Clash of the Titans. So when you have the Clash of the Titans, those first generation Nephilim, however many there were, when they were killed off in the civil war, their spirits went out and became wandering spirits. They lost their physicality. They're looking for bodies again. So what happened next? I believe they started this process of the genetic manipulation that we read about in Joshua 4:18 and Jubilees 7:24. They started to create host bodies for their spirits to go into. It was this act of genetic manipulation where they started doing things and they had no idea what the byproduct of it would be. And maybe it was progressive, because I would imagine it was probably seductive to do this transhumanist thing. I mean, wouldn't you like to, see like an eagle, run like a cheetah, have the radar of a bat or the sonar of a dolphin? Wolverine! I mean, come on.
Not if this is the price.
Well, but if you didn't know that was the price, the sales pitch is wonderful, but, what happens after 25?
It is imperative for the women with this blood type to be perfectly matched with men of a compatible blood type in order to have maximum chances of having offspring that will survive through birth, and even further selections must be made in order to have a functioning, lasting product after birth, as most will be handicapped in some severe way. Due to this, the purity of the blood is paramount. It must be pure. Even with precautions, the risk is high for death at, during, before and shortly after birth, typically until the 8th or 9th year. With so many medical issues and deaths, one would have to find a way to keep it hidden from public. This is why the families own their own medical centers and created their own homes for their mentally and physically deformed offspring. The DuPonts are one well-known elite family who own many barricaded and walled-off facilities they send their unwanted to, as well as cemeteries, hospitals which nicely double as MK Ultra experimentation areas. Everything they would need. It is far too easy. The Rh-negative people are typically watched heavily. They have the blood the elite want. The elites have always researched this area, which was able to advance quickly in Nazi Germany. The Nazis believed that Rh-negative was proof of their origin from their ancient Nordic gods called Aryans. They believed came from the Aldebaran system. We exposed this system in the Aldobrandini family video. You can find the same beliefs in the elite civilizations across the world. Joseph Mengele was interested in the correlation of blood types to psychic abilities. Blood type B apparently has more psychics than other blood types. People who have true psychic abilities have energy fields of 500 CPS or higher. This is in contrast with most brain activity, which lies in the 0 CPS to 100 CPS range. The heart operates at up to about 250 CPS. And the resonant frequency for a nerve is 360 CPS. The high CPS energy field is a tip-off that the person is psychic, or at least someone of great interest to be used by the elite. The elite are identifying everyone in the world with special blood and abilities. People are uploading their DNA into databases in every country, welcoming in the elites reaping. Psychics are often brought into intelligence agencies to be under watch of the elite. Most are simply monitored and gang-stalked. Some who are threats to them are killed, and others receive mind control. They have been identifying people with psychic abilities and then trying to track and control them. These people are tested and many times experimented on by government organizations because the blood type allows special connection to the spiritual realm. Typically Rh-negative people have special skills. High IQ, extremely skilled many times in art or music. Colder body temperature due to the altered frequency. They are true oracles, hypnotists, psychics and such, not the $5 scammers you see at the beach.
The real question to this modern mystery is, why does the US government track those with Rh-negative factor, especially those with O blood type, with such extraordinary monitoring techniques worldwide? The X-Files. The answer to this question can be extrapolated from one little-known factoid. The factoid became evident to anyone who watched The X-Files for any period of time. 2016 X-Files episode, "There are no alien abductions, only government kidnappings." This very popular and extraordinary science fiction television series was actually coded in such a manner so as to disseminate numerous hidden truths about the secret workings of various organs of the national security state, both within and external to the US federal government. It was particularly designed to disclose critical details about the covert operation of the black budget intelligence agencies and special secret service dealings with UFOs, alien visitations, and extraterrestrial civilizations, both genuine.
The elite have been called reptilians. Keywords spread by controlled opposition. David Icke, whose script was to bring in that terminology. As usual, there is truth mixed into the propaganda. Putin once commented on the Queen of UK shape-shifting in front of him. This is no surprise for people aware of the blood she carries. Rho negative. Not to mention she told the world straight out that she was not human. Ones carrying a certain DNA are more easily able to be vessels for the ones they serve. Human avatars, allowing themselves to be infected with another life form. Golems. It should be noted that while this blood type enables certain gifts, as with anything, a gift in the hands of the corrupted elite will not be used for good. Reptilians is a term which is highly misleading. It is unlikely the elite will break open for a large lizard to emerge. However, they are human shells. It is what is living inside that can affect the outward appearances. As it is in an environment it is not made for, the human body cannot contain them comfortably, and so they are able to show through from time to time. Scales on the skin, eyes changing, teeth changing, voice changes. The ones the elite serve are often assimilated to reptiles. Draco, Medusa, Ajdia, Shishumara, Marduk, Anunnaki. Other terms used are Nephilim, Rephium, Emim, Anakim. As always, the elite use multiple terms for the same thing. It all leads back to the ones they serve. The great dragon, the serpent of old, the fallen ones, aliens, Elohim, the sons of God, all led to the same thing. The elite are masters of deception, but the ones they serve and allow to infect them perfected the concept. What the elite do is child's play compared to them.
Spiritual beings have been ruling this planet through very specific bloodlines, who long ago swore allegiance to these beings in exchange for wealth and power over the human race. In preparing the whole world for the ultimate spiritual deception, these evil entities have planned. These bloodlines are literally able to be traced by genealogists all the way back to ancient Sumer and Babylonia, and these human familiars or pets of the demonic angels have worshipped Satan and his minions under many forms from the time of Sumer right up to our present day.
Another key aspect to this is that they created hybrid bloodlines specifically to be the middle men and women. They became known in the ancient world as the demigods, the people, the children of the gods, part human, part god, as these serpent gods were perceived. And They were to be, like I say, the middlemen and women operating in visible light for the outside visible light control system. And it's appropriate that the caduceus and the symbol of the medical profession is the DNA, in effect, portrayed as two snakes. Because to these reptilian geneticists who were far, far ahead of where we are in the public arena in terms of genetics and understanding, and so they manipulate it for their own means. And this is crucial to understand the world that we live in. One seriously important aspect to this DNA, this hybrid DNA I'm talking about, is that it has eliminated what we call empathy. The ability to decode the emotion of empathy. Empathy is the fail-safe mechanism of all behavior. If I can empathize with the consequences for others of my actions, that limits and balances my actions. If I have no empathy because I cannot empathize, then there are no limits. There is nothing that won't do. 3,000 dead on 9/11, who cares? Who cares? That's what we're dealing with. And this is vital to get across. If we look at this information on the basis of thinking I wouldn't do that, so they wouldn't do it, then we're going to miss the plot completely. Because it's not like that. No, you wouldn't do it. They would, and have no emotional comeback whatsoever. The reason for the interbreeding, the hybrid, is vibrational compatibility. These hybrids have a greater infusion of reptilian DNA than the general population, although we have a lot. And therefore, the resonance is sympathetic to the resonance of these entities operating just outside visible light. And through this resonant connection, like two radio stations talking to each other, the possessing entity outside of visible light can control the thoughts, actions, perceptions of the intermediary, the demigod. And of course, the theme of possession is as old.
Today, transgenic experiments are becoming more well-known and open, especially in the United States, Britain and Australia, where animal eggs are being used to create hybrid human embryos from which stem cell lines can be produced for medical research. A team at Newcastle and Durham universities in the UK recently announced plans to create hybrid rabbit and human embryos, as well as other chimera embryos mixing human and cow genes. The same researchers have already managed to reanimate tissue from dead human cells. Necromancing. Case Law School in Cleveland was awarded a $773,000 grant in April 2006 from the National Institutes of Health to develop guidelines for the use of human subjects in what could be the next frontier in medical technology: genetic enhancement. The time is late. Let us not be deceived any longer. The elite, like the ones they worship, can create nothing. They can only twist, corrupt, and deceive, whatever the advertising they give you. Remember what they swear to, and what they live by.
Crustaceans, and this is the famous Jesuit oath that each Jesuit makes when he becomes a Jesuit. Now, it'll tell us something about the character of the Jesuits. There it says, I, and he fills in his name, in the presence of God and all the saints and all these things, swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ's vice-regent and is the true and only head of the Catholic Universal Church, etc. It also says here that this power was given by the Savior, Jesus Christ. He has power to dispose heretical kings, princes, states, commonwealths, governments, all being illegal without his sacred confirmation, and that they may safely be destroyed. So a Jesuit swears that if a government is not subject to Rome, it can be what? Destroyed. I further declare that I will help and assist and advise all or any of His Holiness's agents wherever I shall be, and do my utmost to extirpate the heretical Protestant or liberal doctrines. Liberal doctrines are doctrines where you decide what you believe. You take the liberty of making your own choice rather than allowing the Pope to do it for you. and that will be destroyed, and all their pretended powers. And that it doesn't matter where you send me in the world, I will obey. And I promise that I will have no opinion of my own. I will obey like a corpse. And I will make war, secretly or openly, against all heretics, Protestants, and liberals, as I am directed to do, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth. I will spare neither sex, age, nor condition, and I will hang, waste, boil, flay, strangle, bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, crush their infants' heads against the wall in order to annihilate forever their execrable race. That's quite a nice Christian promise, would you agree? Very Christian promise. Did they do it? Well, the Waldenses, they smashed the children's heads against the rocks to make the parents rescind. In the Ottoman Empire, that's an interesting story, in Serbia and in all those East Bloc countries where they occupied, they took the children, threw them in the air, and caught them on the ends of their bayonets. They were nice people. Now you will say that was Islam, that wasn't Jesuits? Well, debatable. We'll talk about it.
That is what they live by. Freemason, Knights Templar, Knights Malta, Jesuit, and all the other clubs of the elite, the high-ranking members, which are the only ones who know anything of the real agenda, swear their free will away, to bring about the agenda of the ones they serve, to do it by any means necessary, to play both sides. How do they complete the agenda of the ones they serve? By building a tower, a stairway, a portal, to bring the masters through the veil which separates and protects us for the time being.
An organization called the Human Longevity Institute that's doing DNA research on life extension.
Yeah.
These kinds of things are part of the lie that you will be as gods and you will achieve immortality. They expect that they will be indwelt, that they will be changed, that their DNA will be changed so that they will become immortals. That's the lie that they have been deceived by, and the promise that has been given to them that they will be better than you and me. And so they are motivated to move as quickly as possible to achieve this goal. They don't care about the rest of humanity. And part of the spin-off in our discussions about the effects of this machine have been physical effects upon the planet, earthquakes and volcanic activity and terraforming and all of those kinds of things we'll get into next week if you like. But sure, they don't care about changing the planet. They don't care about damaging the planet. They want to create a new environment for their new race of beings. So the long and short of it is they expect what they consider to be benevolent entities to come through from another dimension that will solve all of the world's problems, be it environmental, economic, spiritual, what have you. So they welcome who's coming through, and that's the height of the deception that they have fallen under.
The project is considered so dangerous that even famed physicist Stephen Hawking said, and I quote, "The God particle found in CERN could destroy the universe," echoing fears expressed by scientists and concerned citizens across the globe. According to Dr. Mutnish, nightmarish events have already transpired. He asserts that CERN has concealed at least 2 catastrophic experiments that could have doomed humanity to a life of misery and hell. Last September, Dr. Mutnish says, CERN conducted unorthodox experiments by cranking up the collider's power so high that its energy levels became unstable and created a singularity or black hole that could have swallowed the entire planet. And I quote him, "It was horrible, truly horrible," Dr. Mutnish said. Within minutes, time and space began to collapse. A swirling mass of matter and antimatter formed in a chamber below the atom-smashing machine. Literally everything in the room, furniture, fixtures, equipment, was sucked into the growing aperture. We had no warning to the dangers. It just happened. He added that the fissure began to increase in size exponentially. What started as an 8-micron gap in the space-time continuum soon billowed into a half-meter diameter hole without circumference or center. The singularity nearly destroyed the complex, but a final attempt to contain the expanding rupture was successful. A team of engineers managed to construct a lead-infused titanium box around the singularity. To avoid being sucked into the black hole, they tethered themselves to a steel wall using resilient nanofiber umbilical cords. And our source said, had the singularity not been contained, it might have destroyed the complex and possibly even the entire planet. A second unreported mishap occurred in December. While trying to unlock the secrets of space and time, scientists inadvertently opened a gateway to another dimension. A dark portal appeared, and through it stepped a ghastly, amorphous creature with a gaping maw with razor-sharp teeth and tentacles for arms. The beast attacked and killed 3 people before being pushed back into its own dimension, our source said. And I quote, "It was gruesome, truly gruesome," Dr. Mutnish explained. The monster just grabbed them and started ripping them apart limb from limb. It might have slaughtered many more, but they reversed polarity on the collider and the monster was drawn back into its own world. The device is dread, really dread. That's why I had to cease working alongside people willing to advance science at the expense of human.
While not all beings foreign to us are corrupted, the ones who control the elite, the ones the elite have been working generations and millennia to bring back to total rule over this world, they are the corrupted ones, the deceivers, speaking lies, showing you one thing while doing another, talking of peace while creating wars to destroy history, commit genocide, and cover their tracks. They sell you lies only to kill you. They hate you. Because of this, the elite carry out the agendas, creating frequency-changing technologies like CERN to tear the veil to give the others on-chain access to you. That is why gathering and logging all of your data is important. Owning all of your DNA. This is why they traffic and torture and sacrifice humans. Keep the other beings in cloning centers and experimentations in their secret places. Underground cities. Bases. Antarctica. Places you are not allowed to see, hear of, or know about. This is why truth is hidden from you. They swear oaths and give away their free will. They thrive on fear, greed, violence, negative frequencies. This is the bloodline of L, the end goal, the main agenda, to bring the bloodline full circle. The family reunion is coming soon. Expect it.